Alrighty, so we are going to take a look at how to actually record these edit. Alright, so today we're going to look at how to actually edit these YouTube videos for the Maker Group. Okay, so first off, the first thing that I would do is go ahead and open my emails. Now, let's say for kicks and giggles, the last one that got sent, that's the full version, is David Mitchell. First thing I would notice is the link here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up Trello as I do this. That way we can kind of copy and paste, right? So I'm going to follow the link. Woohoo, Wendy didn't delete everything. All right. And then from here, the main thing that you want to grab is this link here. That is going to be the download link. So we'll just do that together. Just copy this, paste it into the new browser link. Boom. Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead and download that. Now, while that is downloading, we're going to do a couple of things to make our lives really easy. Okay, so first off, we have all these timestamps. Just grab these timestamps and copy and go over to Trello. Now we're going to grab this card here and we're going to hit create card from template. Okay, so now we're just going to name it. And I did that too early. So we're going to go over here to the top, David Mitchell, TMG. And then we're going to change this to say full podcast. And hit list. Now list needs to change. This is the vertical section. So we'll just change that to full podcast needed and hit create. Now, it'll take a second, but as you can see now, David Mitchell has now popped onto the bottom for full podcast needed. Now, we can go ahead and go back over here and grab these timestamps. Copy that, go into description, and we're going to paste those timestamps in. I'm going to go ahead and hit delete and then shift enter. And then that way it'll be a little bit more condensed so we can see all those. Boom. Okay, now raw file upload. This is the other one. We're going to make this the full page. So go back to this one on the email, right click, hit copy. Come over here, take that out, hit paste. Boom. Now we're good to go there. Now on the notes, we have vertical clips, yellow captions, full podcast, done there. Timestamps, raw file upload. So we're pretty much good to go. Now the next part is we'll see how our video is doing. And we are downloaded. So I usually just save those to desktop, which is right here. Because we're going to go into the filing now. Now on the hard drive here, and you can just save this wherever, it doesn't really matter per se, I just keep it organized. So on the hard drive, I go to client work, magnetic, and then client video folders, and then I'm going to hit new folder. Now I'm just going to duplicate the name, so I'll hit this one just to grab it real quick, and I'll go to rename and hit David. Okay, so now I'll just go ahead and drag this onto the hard drive so that way it's saved as a backup. Now, inside here, you want to create some folders. Right click. So this one, we're going to name that social media clips. And then if you want to, we can name it full podcast. That's going to be our destination folders for all of the deliverables. Okay, so next, we're finally ready to edit our videos inside Premiere Pro. So go ahead and hit Premiere. And then we'll just wait for that to load up. Okay, and that is what the home screen looks like. Now all we want to do here is hit new project. All right, now this is just a sample project, so that doesn't matter. We're going to go to home, because that's my hard drive folder. And I'm going to go into, actually, no, scratch that. Project location, that's the one we want to do. So project location, choose location. And then we're going to go to, let's see, where's it at? Here we go. Go back to the folder for where we just saved that video. So client work, magnetic, and then we're going to do client video folders. And we're going to find the one that we just did, David Mitchell. Now we can create a new folder. Actually, we can just keep it outside. So we'll just go ahead and click save here. And then we're going to rename it. So this one was David Mitchell. Okay, and then just go ahead and hit create. It really doesn't matter whichever video project it is. Okay. So now you just want to drag this into the media section. And we'll just leave that there for now. Now here we want to create a couple of folders. So we'll just go new bin. We're going to name this sequences. And then we're going to name this footage. And then we got B-roll. Then we also got, let's see, what's it called? Text. That's what we want. Okay, so grab this David Mitchell and put it into footage. And then to put it into the timeline, we want to make sure it's the 1080 24 frames per second. So we're actually going to go up to here next. We'll hit File, New, Sequence. Now, ARRI is your typical video formatting for video. So we're going to go here and just match it. So if it says 24 frames, we just want it to say 24 frames. And then we're going to name the sequence. So this is just going to be the main video. So David Mitchell. So this is going to be our full one. Hit OK. And now this creates the sequence. So you have two different things. You have the video footage, and then you have the sequence. Now this sequence is in the wrong folder. Put it down into sequences. Now we want to create another folder, or sorry, another sequence for vertical clips. So once again, we'll go up to File, New. And then we'll hit Sequence. Now this one, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to name this vertical clips. And we're going to go over to the settings before we hit enter. So right now we're at 1920 by 1080. That's your typical video. We want to switch this so that it's vertical videos. So you just change the numbers. So 1080 here, and then you have 1920 here. All right, and then you're all set there. Hit OK. Now grab that into sequences. Okay, now next we want to go back to our clips inside Trello. Now this one, we're going to name these all the clips. So we're going to go here, learn through failure. Now instead of going through all those settings again, you can just right click here for vertical clips and hit duplicate, and then double click it to rename it, and then paste the name. And this is going to make sense here in a second. And then go back through, duplicate, and then grab the next one, ego, and then duplicate. You get the idea. Grab the third one, and then duplicate. number 4. And then last time, grab the 5th one. Okay, so technically speaking, you did all the groundwork. Now, to open things up, we're going to get rid of all these. We just want to do the full podcast first. So we did all the video ones for the social media clips, but we want to do the full video. So to open up these sequences, this is kind of like a page view. So just like you think of a web browser, all these are different pages. So I'm going to double click this, and it's going to open up that page. So technically speaking, I have these two open first. These are going to be our shells, as in just what we use as our workspace. So David Mitchell, TMG 1080p, that's going to be for a full podcast. And then vertical clips, we're going to use this to chop it out and find all those pieces. Okay, so first up is full podcast. We're going to close this folder, open up footage, drag this onto our timeline. Okay, so now this one has green screen on it, which kind of is painful, to say the least. So we're going to work on that real quick, but you'll get the idea here in a second. So I'm just going to find the first spot before I do any editing. And I typically use the waveforms. So if the waveforms are pretty tiny right here, that means that there's no audio. So I'm going to go through and click it right here. Now, I created custom buttons for mine, but you can pretty much use anything that you want to. So I'm going to click on the clip, and that selects it. Right-click and hit let's see which one was. Hit C for the cut tool. That's where it is. And then click on the clip, and it'll cut it right there wherever the blue line goes. And so we sliced it into 2. So we have the first clip now and then the second clip. Now right here, click on that and hit delete. And drag that over to the beginning now.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to check out our podcast today, Maker Connect.
Okay, so that's pretty much set up, good to go. This bar is our zoom bar, so it'll zoom in or zoom out inside the project. What I'm going to do is, I know that it looks pretty much good to go. I'm going to scroll through and look for any big pauses. And again, that's just like a dead gap into here. It looks like we're set all the way through. So I'm going to go towards the end now and try to find where they stop on the podcast.
Looking at how really there's been an appetite for, I think, not just polishing the sales profession, but really edifying and recognizing the great work that sales professionals do. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the sales profession in general and really edify that and the great work that these folks do.
Yeah, that's a great call out. One more question before I let you go. I won't put you on this.
But no, we're not going to have like a physical presence at that event. We get, so that's like our busiest time of year. So for us, it's kind of like an all hands on deck, like got to ramp up and be ready for Q1.
Got it. Well, we might stop out there. We'll bring some of your stuff for you anyway. So.
Oh, groovy. Yeah. Love to see you there.
All right, David, thank you so much. And we will talk to you again soon. So.
Okay, so it looks like it stopped right there. Now I'm going to zoom in real close so I get it right on the right spot.
So.
And I don't like that cell at the end, so I'm going to cut it right here. So hit C on your keyboard, and that switches to the cut tool. And then hit that one. Now I forgot to mention to move it back to the pointer tool, hit the letter V, and it goes back to the mouse. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out. I don't like all of this mess. I hit delete, and then that's the end. Okay, so now that we found the beginning and the end, we're going to add the green screen to it because his screen is pretty trashy. Now, what I want to do here is, first of all, click on the clip right here. And we want to look for effects. Now, if you're not on this window, it should look like this. I was in a different one, so I just switched it normal. But you can go up here and search key and grab Ultra key. And then you're going to drag that on top of the video clip. Okay, so next we're going to go over the settings. So for the settings right here, It says composite, default, and black. Grab this eyedropper tool, and we're going to just drop it. Hold down your mouse for this and drop it onto the green color and let go. Now this one looks pretty trashy for the light, so on the settings right here, instead of default, hit aggressive, then that'll clean up most
Ego
of
can
that.
protect us from.
So now you've gotten rid of the background on just his footage. Now, if you want to, let's see here. Yeah, it takes out a lot of the green on his, and we don't want that. So we want to do this one. It's going to create a mask on it, which is a layer setting. So what we're going to do is we're going to just use this box, and we're going to move these points to only fit over Matt's screen. And you don't have to be super technical with it. You just want to cover up all of his green. Cool. So right about there looks good. Actually, I'm going to go back to that point. Click on the mask. And we'll draw it out a little bit. Okay. There we go. That's better. Great. So now we cut the green in the trees, and we have the black background for him. So now we've got to find the background. Now, I don't have the background. Let's say if I just don't have it because I don't have it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a layer. And layer is going to be just a simple color. So I'm going to go here to new item. And then I am going to go to color matte. And then this is just the settings for the screen. So this is totally fine because we're going to use cropping. So hit OK. Just make sure this one matches. So if our video is 24 frames, this has to say 24 FPS per frames. Hit OK. Now we pick the color. Color doesn't really matter. You can typically just do like a white color here and hit OK. Name it white background. Okay. So now here we got to drag it into our project, and we're going to place it. Whoa, what happened? There we go. We're going to place it here. Now we can drag it on the ends, and it is going to cover up all the black areas. Now we did that because these work as layers just like Photoshop or Canva. So if you drag it on top here like this, it'll go above. If you drag it below like this, it'll go beneath, and then they split it. So you have the audio layers, and then you have the video layers on the top side. That's A1, 2, 3, and then V1, 2, 3. And it doesn't matter how many layers. So like you can keep dragging it to the top, and it adds a bunch more layers, but we don't need that many. Okay, so what do we do now?
Hurtful.
That's pretty much what we got going for the full podcast. So typically what I would do next is I would just export from right here. So now if we want to, we could technically do audio work on this, but he's got like a fancy Neumann microphone, and he's already got the podcast microphone, so it already sounds pretty good.
Terrible, mean, nasty.
Okay, so we want to export this. How do we do that? You hit the export button up here. Okay, now it's already labeled how we want it labeled. I'm going to rename this to edited, and I want to pick what folder it is, so what folder it's going to. So I'm going to click over here to location, and we're going to find that folder. So over here, it looks like we're not in the right one, so we're going to go to client, magnetic, and then David Mitchell, and then full podcast. So you're going to pick the same spot for everything to save to. And that's pretty much what we got going. So hit save. Now we can do video and audio. We're going to do the audio first because video is always super long. So if you look at it right here, that's 7 gigs for this video. We're going to change that. So this preset doesn't matter. Change the format. H.264 just means video. And then the only one that we care about other than that is MP3. So hit MP3. That gives that custom setting. If you notice, the video goes away. So our size now is 68 megabytes. That is perfect for video. We don't care as much about the quality of the file source because the audio quality is pretty okay. Chad, you probably know a little bit more about this, but generally speaking, we can get away with this as far as 24 frames per second. Audio is at 48 hertz, and then the file size, if it's under 100 megabytes, you're good for like a solid hour. Okay, now you're going to send it to Media Encoder. This is its own app. And so if you see, it's going to pop up here in a second. And my machine is slower, so it's going to actually take a good minute. And Chad, this is why like I want to get a new machine at some point, but we're getting there. There we go. Okay. So this is the media encoder window. Basically, it just processes things faster than using Premiere Pro internally. Because this is just the Mercury playback engine, which is just the onboard computer processing system. It's no different than what's inside Premiere Pro. I just noticed that this does it faster for whatever reason. No clue why, but it cuts it down like a good 20 minutes on export time for the big ones. So then you just go ahead and hit play. Now, if you're like, oh shoot, I picked the wrong folder, you can go ahead and click this again and re-choose the folder that you want it to go to and do all that good stuff, but we don't need that for now. And then you go ahead and hit the green play button, and it'll go ahead and process that. Now, this one looks like it's pretty decent. The file size is still a bit big. Wait, you know what? That's right. So it's going to process the audio first with whatever settings. We don't really have any, so it's not going to take too much of a long time. And then after that, it's going to do the full round. So typically with this, I just wait and go do whatever else and then come back to it. But that's what we do for that one. And if you notice the time too, we're already at 23 minutes just for the full copy to prep everything. Typically the full process takes about an hour and a half, but that's because I'm super fast with it too. That's just for one video. But that one video does the entirety of that week of work. Boom, there we go. Okay, so now it's loading. So technically speaking, we'll just let that go ahead and load, and I'll come back in a minute when it's done. Okay, so now we can move on to the other stuff. So technically speaking, since this is done, we'll exit out of that. But what I want to do is I'll go ahead and go back to the footage and load that into vertical clips. And then you're going to get a pop-up window here. It says this clip does not match the sequence settings. Hit keep existing settings because we want the vertical clips. And then same thing here. We're going to drag this up, go to the full one and hit white background, hit copy, go back to this page, hit paste. There we go. Match it up so that it hits all the points. Okay, now just keep that layer there. We don't want to change anything or clip anything yet, so we just want the background there to be there when we do the settings. Right now, the settings do not matter. Okay, so now we're going to go back to encoder. Okay, it says done. Now, where did that go to? We're going to go ahead and minimize that just to show you where it's at. Home. I'm going to go back to our folders. Okay, so the new one we just made, David Mitchell. If it's saved where I wanted it to save, we hit full podcast, and there we go. The audio's right there. Okay, so now going back to our clips, we want to export the full thing for the video. So to do that, we just go to export, David Mitchell, TMG. Now it's going to go back to our old settings. We don't want those. So go to presets and do match source medium bitrate. We don't need the full highest quality. It cuts down the size in half and it does not lose quality. So if you look at it, match source high bitrate, that's 55. So that's 5.5 gigs. If we do medium bitrate, it's still the same quality as you can see here, but then it's 3.4. Basically, it just takes one less round to polish up all the settings. All of our settings are fine, so we don't have much. The only thing we care about is the green screen. So you go through there and you'd hit, well, first we need to rename it. So I'll do an underscore here. So shift, and then dash. Then I'll rename that full pod edited. Okay, now I just want to make sure it's going to the right folder. So I'll hit this one on the blue. And it looks like it is. Let me go back. So I know it's this folder, right? I'm going to go ahead and hit full podcast. Yep. Okay, that's the right one. So I'll hit save. Then same thing, I'll send it to Media Encoder. And then boom, the second one's ready to go. I'm not going to hit go on this one yet because we still need to go in and do the social media clips. And this would slow down the machine. Okay, so vertical clips. What are we doing here? So for social media, I am going to resize this. I said not to do any work first, but we can go ahead and do that. Most likely, I'm going to position it first to the guest. And this way, what that does is mostly the clips that they pick out are the guest speaking. So I'm just going to resize it using these settings. So scale, that just literally does how big or small. And you can grab these and hold it down and drag them to the left or to the right, and that's how you do the sizing on this. And then over here for position, this one, the left number is for the left to right. And then same thing, just grab and drag it to the left or to the right. Or this one, left to the right, is up and down, which is a little weird, but you kind of get the idea. Okay, so right about there's good. I want his chin to be relatively towards the middle of the screen because the lower third section here is going to be designated for captions. So we'll leave that there. That's a pretty good spot. His head should be in the kind of this top third, middle third section. And if you want like just a frame of reference, you can hit this gear icon for settings. And then I'm going to scroll down and hit safe margins. And then you can see these show up. These do not show on the actual export, but they're just extra little tools. So I try to match up kind of his nose and mouth to this middle line area. And then I want to make sure there's a good amount of space beneath that. So that's kind of just where his head should be placed when you do the sizes. Okay, so back on topic now. If you notice where your all of your effects buttons just changed, they're not there, they disappeared. That's because nothing in this area is selected. You have to click on the specific piece in order to change it. So if I want to change the background, I hit the pink one, and these are the settings for that pink one. If I hit this one, for the blue one for the video, these are the settings for his video. And that's pretty much that. Now, this one does not have green screen. That's okay. We'll do that later. Okay. So now going back to his timestamps. Now this is where you would actually slice. I'm going to look at 1233 to 1425. So I'm going to go back here. And then 1233 is actually going to be pretty close to where I am. You can use these. And these are the actual seconds. So I'm going to zoom in here. 1233. Should be right about here.
I'm a lot more likely to.
Okay. So now here, what I'm going to do is hit C on the keyboard and click on this one and click on this one. That's going to slice it right at that blue line. And then I'm going to go over here, zoom out real quick to the other time, which was 1425. There we go. And I'm going to hit the blue part up here. So you can click anywhere here and it moves the blue pointer for the time. And then I'm going to go ahead and play it where I think it stops.
One instrument or go to aggressive. I definitely think that the goals are harder to obtain. They're harder to hit our numbers. They're harder to get to the quote unquote win in that negotiation.
Boom. Okay, so that's the end of the sentence. I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'm going to hit C for my cut tool, and I'm going to click on the mouse and then make those cuts. So now when I zoom out, that's the clip right there. Now I'm going to just drag this to the top. The reason for this is simply to differentiate it from the rest of the video. Also, what I'll do is I'll go to the beginning here, doesn't matter where, and I'm going to hit the letter M as in Mary, and it's going to make a marker. This way I know, okay, so if I'm anywhere else, I know, okay, this is clip number 1 that I just did. Let's say I'm over here or whatever. If I click on this yellow guy, it'll push me back to my start for the clip. So that's the first one. Then you just go through and mark all 5. So now it's 1609, 1752. I'm going to zoom back in, 1609.
With like the ego, my belief on what the ego is in a positive sense.
Okay, so that's weird. He fumbles a lot.
So my belief.
I want him to start on my belief, I think.
My belief on. My belief on. My belief on.
Okay, so I'm gonna hit cut 1, 2, both layers. And then since I'm out, I'll hit M for marker. I'm gonna zoom out. I'm gonna grab my other point, which is 1752. Zoom back in. 17. Boom.
That are some of the most difficult and toughest negotiators, and
Sure.
I don't think that's a coincidence.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop him right there on coincidence. Okay, so I'm gonna go through, hit my cut tool, boom, and then drag this to the top. Okay, so that's video number 2. Now, let's say, for example, blah, blah, blah. I went through, I did all 5, right? What happens next? So, like I said, I'm not going to change much of this. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go down to sequences that we just made, and this is where we come full circle now. So go back to Trello, learning through failure. I made learning through failure. I'm going to open this page up, right? So 1, 2, learning through failure. There's nothing in this project. I'm going to go to vertical clips, go to this first one, because that's the name of it. I'm going to click and drag over these so it selects all of them. Hit Command C for copy. And now go here and hit Command V for paste. And then now you have that full clip on its own area. So now this is its own social media clip. Okay, what comes next? Well,
And so I was fortunate to have some good.
I don't see Matt in this section, so I'm going to go ahead and take out this background because we don't need it. We only need it for Matt's green screen. Okay, so this looks pretty good now. How do we add everything else? Well, we want to add B-roll, right? Now, typically you can get away with this depending on what they talk about.
I'm a lot more likely to understand how I need to communicate my value so that it's actually received well, right?
Okay. So let's say they're talking about negotiations. What am I going to do here? I am going to go over through here, grab a new browser, go to Storyblocks. You have my login. Text me if you don't. And this is our B-roll footage. Okay, so what are we going to do here? Let's say he wants to talk about failure or confidence. Just type in the keyword confidence. We'll let it load. Okay. If I can spell. Okay, let's do this. Entrepreneur. Boom. Okay, so now this is our stock footage. What I'm going to do here, if I'm logged in, it's going to let me have these buttons right here. I'm just going to grab these really quick. So let's say, for example, this one's a business meeting. I'm going to hit the download button. I'm going to hit the lowest quality HD MP4 because that's the same one that we're using. You can go fancy, but that's 1 gig for like a 30-second clip. We don't want to do that. So HD MP4, hit download. Boom. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to pick the folder still. So I'm going to go to home, find our folder that we did. So that's magnetic client folder, David. And again, this is just a mess because we've been doing it a while. Okay, now I'm going to create a new folder here. B-roll. Done. Save. Boom. There we go. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'll save a couple of these clips. Let's say I'll save 4 of them, right? So I'm going to go to this one now. Done. HD4. Download. Boom. It's going to go to the same one. B-roll. Save. Cool. Now this one's another meeting. How about we do this one? This one's going to be like planning and whatnot. HD4. Download. Boom. That's number 3. Okay, now this one's good because it's a meeting kind of back and forth. We'll let it load because I'm doing it quickly. Okay, here we go. Boom, download 4. Okay, now we can do more clips just for the sake of this. That's basically what we're doing. If you want to have a rhyme and reason to it, you absolutely can. So you just pick the best ones there. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to that folder that I had that I just saved these to. So clients, magnetic, David, B-roll. Okay. So now you can grab all these and place them in here. I don't want to do that. This is more of my footage stuff. I'm going to grab this folder, and you can grab the whole folder and drag it in here too. That's going to create its own folder right there. Yes, we already designated it, but yeah, we can just delete that actually. And then all your stuff is right here. So now that we have that, what we're going to do is hit the little arrow here, and we can add our B-roll. And it doesn't matter that it says 25 and the rest is 24. We're going to resize it anyways. So I'm going to zoom in here now. And this is actually too long. We want them to be about 2 seconds, 2 to 3 seconds. So I'm going to trim it off. Just going to grab the end and it makes it smaller. And we want to resize this. So click it and scale in. And right there's all right. Let's just go ahead and do it like that because it comes off their face. And then we'll grab the second one, scroll in so that the whole thing is only about 5 seconds. Now here's the cool part. I'm going to copy and paste the sizing. So this one, the sizing is completely off, right? So I'm going to go back to this one. I'm going to make sure it's selected. Click on motion and hit copy, Command C. And then click on this second clip and hit Command V for paste. And then watch. Now it is already pretty much the sizing that we want. So you can copy and paste any setting anywhere. So I'm going to click on this one, hit any setting category. So I'm going to hit motion, hit copy, go to this one, click it, hit paste. And that way you're able to just copy and paste settings across the board. Okay. So that's what we want there. Now I'm going to go ahead and do another spot just for the sake of these purposes. Boom. I'll slice it. Boom. There we go. Typically, they like the style of 2 together or 3 together. So now I'm going to go here, click on this one, click on motion, hit copy, click on this one, hit paste. I'm going to resize this one a little lower and then center it. And then I'm going to go to this one, same thing, paste. Then I'm going to center it to where the dude is talking.
Feel seen and heard. And when they feel...
Boom. Okay, and that's B-roll. Now I'm plowing through this, so of course you might have questions, but that's the main idea. Now let's say we want to do text next. How are we going to do that? We're going to go over to Window, Workspace, and go over to Captions and Graphics. Boom. Now click Transcript. If it doesn't, just go ahead and I have it set up to do the transcript already. So you're just going to go through and do normal transcripts. There's a million tutorials on it, so we can just look that up. But if it already has it in there, it's going to look like this, and it's going to highlight it blue when it talks. So technically speaking, if you want to check it, I would go through and check these. So I'm going to hit play,
A lot more likely
and I'll listen to it and I'll read it because it already scripted it out for us.
to understand how I need to communicate my value so that it's actually received well, right? So that the uptake is there. So I think, yeah,
Okay, so this is looking mostly correct. I'll take the time to actually go through it when I do it for real. Now, next we want to convert this to on-screen text instead. This is just a transcript file. So you'll hit the CC for closed captions or create captions, and now hit the drop down. These are settings to make actually captions for on-screen captions. So maximum length in characters, this is way too long. This is for full screen settings basically. The sweet spot I found is you're going to drag this over to 15. And then right here, minimum duration in seconds. We want to make sure they keep up with how fast he's talking. So that's going to be 2 seconds. Gaps in between caption frames, leave that at 0. Line is single lines. So this is our main setting. Yes, you can save it. My machine does not save things correctly on this specific page, so I just don't save this. You can always drag it to 15 to 0 single. I just memorized that, and then hit create captions. Now this is going to go through and place it, instead of that big long file, it's going to place the individual seconds now. So as you can see, it's like really there on the bottom. I'm going to take off the safe margin. Boom. Okay, so now I can see it's super small in there. Now what am I going to do next here is, that's weird. I am going to make these look a lot better. So I'm just going to zoom in, and all of these are individual clips. So if I see this first one here, that is actually the video file for the text. So if I hit delete, it goes away, right? Okay, so I'm going to click on any random one, and I'm going to create what we're going to do here now. So the text font, we're going to change this to Montserrat. Here we go. Montserrat, and it is Montserrat Black, this one here. Okay, there we go. Now this one, we're going to change this to all caps, which is the double T here. Boom. And then we're going to change the text size to 85. Boom. Okay, we're getting it. Now next, this is the same thing for sizes. I'm going to grab this one. This is left and right. This is up and down. And I'm going to move this right about here. Boom. There we go. Now we have fill, stroke, and background. I'm going to hit yes on stroke, and we are going to change this. This is going to be changed to yellow because they like their yellow. We're going to make it nice and vibrant. Okay. Boom. Now this is a bit too much. I'm actually going to switch this to, I think it was 3. That's the one it was. Okay, so 2.5, and we're going to add a shadow. Now this shadow, I want to make sure that the shadow is very, for lack of a better term, pungent. I'm going to move this to 15. By the way, anything that's blue, you can click it instead of dragging, and you can just give it a number. So that's 15, 100%. 6, I think we can do a little bit more. 7 looks about right. And then 12 is fine there. Okay, so now we want to save this because we want this to apply to every single word. If you look at the next one, it only changed one slide. Now the problem with this is that you would have to go in and do the settings for every single one, but we're going to change that. Click this guy, go to track style, click this drop down and hit create style. We're going to name this yellow captions. Boom, there we go. Okay, now here's where we actually save the setting. This is yellow captions. I'm going to drag this up into the text folder. Boom, there we go. So now we always have text as yellow captions there. And I can change this. Actually, no, we're good there. Okay, so text yellow captions. Now, hit this arrow. This arrow says push to tracker style. This is going to apply it to every single text section. So hit that, all captions on track, hit OK. Boom. Now if we hit play,
to understand how I need to communicate
There we
my
go.
value
We have captions.
so that it's actually received well, right? So that
Now, if we want to change that, let's say for a specific spot, okay, I'm just going to let this play through,
the,
right?
the uptake is there. So I think, yeah, I've absolutely seen those situations.
I'm not a huge fan of it right there. Let's go ahead and move that down and give it a little bit of a bigger size to 90. Okay, that's a little better. And then push to all tracks.
I'm a lot more likely
That looks a little better. Okay, boom. So now we got the whole video there. That's the whole social media
to
clip,
understand how
right? If it plays over B-roll.
those situations where, especially when I'm having a bad day, or especially when I'm frustrated, or I'm just trying to.
And now we have pretty much the finished product. I would go through and listen to that. Like I said, I would check every single word here just to make sure. Now, excuse me, for this, he says, like, for example, and just, and so I was blah, blah, blah. I'll just go ahead and remove those. So double click it and it'll open up the text window and hit delete. And then click anywhere else away from that and it'll fix it. So now I'll go here. Actually, we'll leave that and then we'll hit play.
And just and so I was fortunate to have some good coaches who helped me and pointed that out to me. But I definitely often choose to do.
Now you can use this to go to a specific section. So if you're just going through this and you want to hear it, you're like, you know what? I don't really know what this word is. Please allow me to ease to ease. Okay, so I'm gonna go to this one. I'll click this, and it'll take me to that part of the video, and I'll hit play.
Please allow me to ease some of.
Okay, so I'll just go through. Okay, it's a double word. First pass, I'll take out double words, but we don't edit after that.
Your frustrations, you're suffering with my past mistakes. Let me tell you how I failed brilliantly. Extract.
Okay, now this one's too big. If you see that it's too big on the screen, I would click on the individual one and I would resize it. So if that one's one letter, typically if you go down 5 points, it'll fix it. So 85, enter, boom, there you go.
Extravagantly in a
Okay, now this one's a double word. We'll get rid of that one. Boom, done. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Everything's done. What are we doing now? Go over to export. It's already named what we named it. That's why we set up those sequences with all the custom names like we did. Let's make sure that that's the right one, which it's not. So go back to David Mitchell. Save this to social media clips. Hit save. Okay, now it's already on the video part, 136. That's really nice. Send to media encoder. Boom. Okay, so now we'll just go ahead and hit export, and boom. We are done with both of those. Okay, so I'm just gonna pause those. I'll let this one go on, but okay, forget you. Stop. No. Boom. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of that. Don't pay attention to that. Play. Done. Okay, now it's gonna process the audio. Now it's gonna process the video. And these ones don't take very long. It takes like 3 minutes for the social media clips. The big boy is the full podcast. So that's what we got going on there. And then you'll just go through that, and it just took me a long time because I had to explain all the pieces. But to do a full podcast, it takes about 30 minutes. To do all the 5 social media videos, it takes me about another 40 minutes. And then I just upload all those. But it really doesn't take that much time. It just takes a long time because I was helping explain everything. But that's basically what I do for all that. And then the last piece, and I got to get headed out after this, but the last piece here is uploading. So now we're going to go through here. Right, we're going to pull up, get rid of that, Google Drive. And then on this one, I'll go through in here, maker group, and we don't have David's folder. So I'm just going to go ahead and add it, new folder, grab the title again, copy, paste, done. Go to his folder here. And then I'll go back to the hard drive where we saved everything. David, social media clips, boom, load. Now, when we're already to the loading process, the last step that I'm doing here is I'll go ahead over to the folder, hit share, copy link. Then I'll go back into Trello. I'll be like, okay, everything's good to go. You know, everything's loaded in there. I got the video, the audio, the social media links. I'll paste that, and then you guys can see everything in there. And then the last step is I'll go ahead and write a comment. Jarrett, videos are done. Ready to check. Oh, and then that's the whole process. So that is everything from start to finish, and then you can go back into the folder, of course, at any time and change and edit those because it saves all the settings. So that's the whole process from start to finish for video editing, and then we do, of course, all the Trello stuff.